Hello. This is not intimidating at all. This is interesting because I had a speech that I was going to get up and give, and I decided very last minute that that is not what I was going to talk about. So while I'm very proud of having co-founded a nonprofit with my best friend, Emily Greener, and the method to my madness, and I'm used to getting up here and speaking about I Am That Girl, and how it was this concept, and in college that we were able to bring this concept to fruition and do all these incredible things. I'm actually kind of going out on a limb, and I'm just going to talk from the heart. So are you okay with me being really honest and really vulnerable? Can I get it? Can I get an all right out there? Thanks. That was my best friend, you can tell. I knew I'd have one out there. Okay, so like I said, the story of I Am That Girl is an important one, but for the first time, I'm going to get up here and I'm just going to share my story as Alexis Jones, and that is far more terrifying than getting up and reciting something that is so rehearsed and is so good and gets such good laughs. I know every time that I give certain lines and everyone's going to crack up, and now I got nothing. So it was kind of interesting. Several years ago, 4 years ago now, I Am That Girl was launched. And growing up in Austin, you know, part of the backstory is growing up in Austin. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, and kind of put together this checklist of all the things that I think the world says matters. And I went out to LA to make all of these dreams come true, right? Dating the right guy and having the right job and having the right body and having all these things, and then had this crash, this moment where all of a sudden I realized that I felt like I'd been lied to, and that all these things didn't matter, and worse, that people were looking at me and thinking that I had it all figured out, which really just made me feel like a fraud. So this idea that I was going to start I Am That Girl, and then I was going to build community for girls, and I was going to use media, this thing that I'd been working in for so many years, and I was going to use this as a platform to try to inspire girls to feel better about themselves. And about a year ago, Emily and I had been running this, and all of these very exciting, impressive things that I'm going to let her share about. But about a year ago, I got a phone call, and it was my brother, and he was calling. I was out in California. I grew up in Austin with 4 older brothers. I have a really big family. And my brother called, and he said, are you sitting down? Why do people ever say that? You already know it's bad news. Like, I don't know why they just preface, this is the worst news you're ever going to hear, so I just want to make sure you're sitting down. And he was like, we just found out that Dad has cancer. And I don't know if you've ever been there, or if you've had that moment, and I don't know what that is for you, but that moment that just rocks your world, that instantly everything that you think matters, the entire way in which the world operates, that it's supposed to operate a certain way, no longer operates that way. And I just remember, it was like the scene in the movie. I fall down to the ground. I had hardwood floors in my apartment in LA, and I just started weeping. And all I could say on the phone over and over was, I'm sorry, I just don't understand. I just don't know, and I just kept repeating it because I thought if I said it enough times that I don't understand, that maybe it would suspend the reality of what was happening. And I remember we had a week tour that I was about to go on, a big speaking tour for I Am That Girl, and I remember Emily saying, sweetheart, we're no, go home, absolutely, what are you thinking, just go. And I was like, no, we're gonna do the speaking tour anyway. And I remember showing up, and I was speaking on authenticity. And I remember, and it's this huge keynote, and there were hundreds of college students. And I remember 10 minutes before the talk, everyone's like, where is she? Where's our keynote? Where's Alexis? And Emily's like, 1 second, and runs into the bathroom. And she's like, Lex? And I remember popping my head out from behind the stall. And I just remember her looking at me and going, oh shit. And I had mascara streaming down my face, and it wasn't the cute cry where you're like, no, it's fine. It was the hyperventilating, and mascara mixed with snot, mixed with tears, mixed with oh my God. And she was like, okay, we're gonna sneak you out the back, and I'm just gonna tell them that this was a stupid idea anyway. And I just remember looking at her and in between animalistic groans, and I was like, no, it is a talk on authenticity, and she's like, okay, but not good. Everything's happening, not that authentic, you know what I mean? We're gonna be authentic, but not that authentic. And I remember her just looking at me, and she was like, okay, you're good then you're gonna do what you do. And I was just like, yeah. And she's like, maybe the mascara, we'll just clean it up though real quick. And I remember walking out and stepping out on the stage, and it being one of the scariest things I've ever done, because I gave people permission to really see me. And about 2 weeks after that, I get another phone call, and things were going really badly with my dad. And I was flying from New York back to LA. And on that six and a half hour flight that I had leased out my apartment, I decided to move home. And I threw 2 suitcases into my car. And I drove 24 hours home by myself. And that was the longest 24 hours of my entire life. Because all I had to do was sit there and think about the possibility of what a world looks like in which my daddy is not a part of it. And selfishly thinking about the fact that that man is supposed to one day walk me down the aisle. And am I gonna be that bride who has to ask my groom's dad to walk, and just trying to understand what that world is like, and that ambiguity and that fear. And I remember showing up in Austin and not knowing who I was. And I found this interesting because for me, it was always, I was so type A, like balls to the wall, could do anything. Like I saw an obstacle and it was a joke, right? I would see something, I'd be like, really? Everyone else said no. Is there anyone else that I can prove wrong? Like I just had like this mantra of just like anything is possible, like pursue your passion at all costs. And in retrospect, that was very naive. Because yes, I believe to pursue your passion at all costs and to get lit up and to make magic is possible, but not at all costs. Not at the cost of not having a boyfriend for 4 years. I was questioning my own sexuality at a certain point. You know, I was on the road traveling nonstop, and I was like, no, it's fine, because I'm so empowered. I'm such an empowered girl. I don't even care. I don't even want to make out with that really cute guy in the back who I've suddenly become awkward around and can't talk to because I've lost all skills in that arena. And so I remember moving home and like not knowing who I was, and like I'm the motivational girl. I'm the girl who gets up on stage and tells people that they're awesome, and I'm the girl who reminds you that you're badass, and that whatever that thing is that you're allowing yourself to not do that thing, that you're gonna do it anyway. And all of a sudden I moved home and I didn't know up from down. I was back in my old squeaky bed in my dad's house, and it just felt like steps backwards. And I remember for 2 weeks, I didn't get out of bed. And like, that's what I don't share. I don't get up and I'm like, I love bios because they're just like highlight reels of you being awesome. They're like, here are all the ways in which she's won in life. She's done some awesome things. And like, you never talk about the epic fails, right? Of all the things that you do that you like, wish you could take back. And being home, like I said, in my old squeaky bed and spending hours upon hours and days in hospitals. And I remember there was this moment where one of my brother's best friends called me and he was like, where are you? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm home. And I was a wreck, right? Like I said, I couldn't get out of bed. And I remember my mom coming home from work at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon because she was worried about me because I hadn't gotten out of bed all day, right? I was a girl who was like done with her workout by like 6:45 in the morning. I'd be like, that's all? I'm just getting warmed up. Right? And now it's 2 p.m. and I'm not out of bed. And I remember her sitting on the edge of my bed. And she's like, honey, I'm just worried about you. I just miss the old you. And I was like, yeah, well, I don't know where she's gone, but I'll keep you posted when she comes back. How about that? Like, I was so mad at the world. And I remember like not knowing how or what to do with all of that madness. And so my brother's best friend calls and he was like, hey, where are you? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, I don't know, being depressed. What are you doing? Is that the answer you're looking for? And he was like, anyway, I think I met your person. And I was like really dramatic and not interested. I don't know who he is, but like, I always imagine meeting your person when like you have a 6-pack and when like you just got off stage murdering it. Or like when you're hosting a new show and you're like, oh, that show that I host and the new book that's coming out, no big deal. What do? It was like, I never planned on like meeting my person like a total wreck, And so he was like, oh, I'm dating this girl and I want you to meet her, blah, blah, blah. And so sure enough, I end up, showing up to this bar mainly because Emily was in town because my mom called her because she was worried about me. So now my best friend's here and I'm like, you probably don't want to sit around and watch me cry. I guess we'll go out. And so my brother's best friend is like, yeah, that guy over there, and points him out. And I was like, Bradley Buckman? I went to middle school and high school with that guy and he was super awkward then. He's probably awkward now. And sure enough, we go walking over and I start talking to this guy. And he's 6'10", so he's weirdly tall, And it's like, that's the first thing you think is like, you don't fit into normal things, It's like the first thing I'm thinking is like, life's difficult for you. You like, traveling must be hard, And so we start chatting and I remember sitting there and not having all my stuff together. And he finally asks me out after like 2 weeks of hanging out. And I remember telling him like, walk away. Like if ever there's a time, like walk away, like I'm a mess. You don't want a girl with like daddy issues right now. And he was like, so like what are you working on? And for the first time in my life, every single answer I had was, I don't know, which is not a comfortable conversation, right? I don't know. Like, are you working with I don't know. Are you in LA? I don't know. This conversation is going really well. So I feel like you're probably gonna be crushing on me hard soon. And the interesting thing for me was it was the first person I'd ever let really see me. Ever. And every other relationship or lack thereof, and everything that I'd done even as I am that girl. And it's hard to have this conversation with y'all because like these are my peers, like these are my homies. These are the girls that I look to and I admire and I respect, and I want so badly for you to think that I'm awesome and that I have my stuff together all the time. And I owe you an apology for the inauthenticity that I had with you guys for so long because I didn't feel comfortable being me. I didn't know how to be me. And in that space of like just pretending to have it together all the time, it's exhausting, is it not? It's exhausting to pretend that you're fine all the time. And there's a lot of times in life when like, I'm not fine at all. Today I was not fine. I was sick yesterday, like did not get out of the hotel room the entire day. And I would never have said that before. I would have got up and like done my spiel and like probably got an IV after and been like, hope that went well. I don't remember anything. And so the only thing I want you to take away from the mayhem that I just spewed is the fact that I think that who you are is enough. And that is what I'm trying to breathe in every single day. My mantra is not pretending to have it together all the time. My mantra is not getting up on stage and talking about how we went to the White House and how I just spoke at Harvard and all these things that used to ascribe all of my worth, this overcompensation that I was doing my entire life. And now I feel like I can stand up here and just say the thing that I am working on today is that I am enough, that I do enough, and that I have enough. And the beauty of all of that is so do you. So relax, because you have enough, and you are enough, and you do enough. The two words that I think are the most comforting in the entire English language, me too. So whatever it is that you're going through, that you're struggling with, that is preventing you from being your most badass, awesome self, we all have it. But at least if we're willing to have the bravery and the courage to just say it, then we get real relationships. Then you grant people permission to see the glorious, magnificent, and broken, and messy, and complicated, and convoluted, and beautiful version of you. And don't you dare think for 1 second that that's not enough.
Any questions for Alexis? Will you marry me?
I do. I do.
What happened with Bradley?
I think we're about to be engaged, although that's technically up to him. Yeah. Yeah, I stepped down from I Am That Girl after meeting him, 2 months after meeting him, and I moved to Europe with him, which was the craziest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I moved to Spain. He plays professional basketball in Europe, so I moved to Spain for 6 months. We just moved to Germany 2 months ago, and I don't know, maybe he and I move here. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I'm saying yes. You guys are pretty enticing, this crew here in Vegas.
What's your dad?
My dad is battling every day. He was at MD Anderson for 6 months, thank you for asking, and he got a bone marrow transplant and it has taken. So now, right? Thank you. So now he is fighting every day and we're fighting alongside him. Thanks.